Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So it's Wildcard Wednesday today, and we have a deck that is certainly wild. We are heading all the way back to Legacy to check out a deck that is taking advantage of some crazy new cards. Some cards from Commander 2016, a card from Conspiracy 2, some really unique stuff. This is a deck I'm calling Thopter Sword, friends, and it recently took Lucas Morales to a top 8 finish in a SCG Legacy IQ, so congrats to Lucas on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break it all down: if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Thopter Sword, friends, is a legacy deck built around the Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek combo. You've probably seen this before. We've played it in Modern in some different places. Basically, if you get these two cards on the battlefield together, for every mana you have, you can gain a life and make a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So you sack the sword to the Thopter Foundry, you get the 1/1, you gain a life, sword triggers in the graveyard because a 1/1 enters the battlefield. You return to the battlefield, equip to the Thopter token, rinse and repeat. So on turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, you can just make a whole bunch of flyers each turn. It's not an instant win combo, and it's not truly infinite because you're limited by the amount of mana you have, but most of the time, gaining 5 or 6 life a turn, making 5 or 6 1/1 flyers, most of the time that's going to get the job done over the course of a couple turns. So the deck is looking to set up that combo with the help of a couple of cards that are pretty common in Legacy. Transmute Artifact is a card that lets you sack an artifact to get another artifact. So this lets you sack one of the plethora of artifacts in the deck. There's a ton of artifacts in this deck, and get whatever half you're missing of the Thopter Sword combo. Tezzeret is kind of the backup finisher, or one of the backup finishers, plus the +1 ability helps you find your Thopter Sword combo, and it's a really good way to win the game with your 1/1 flyers if for some reason your opponent has an ensnaring bridge and you can't attack with your 1/1 flyers. You just plus Tezzeret, then you ultimate it, drain your opponent for 2 times the number of artifacts you have on the battlefield, usually enough to win the game. It hits the ultimate in only 1+, so it happens over the course of just 2 turns, really quick for an ultimate. The deck also is playing a bunch of other Planeswalkers, and this is where it gets a little interesting. So Dak Faden and Jace kind of makes sense. It's still way more Planeswalker heavy than most Legacy decks, but Dak Faden lets you filter through your deck by the Faithless Looting +1 ability. Maybe your opponent plays an artifact you can steal. That ability is kind of hit or miss in Legacy, but still, just filtering through your deck is nice. Jace, of course, one of the best Planeswalkers in Legacy. The new addition, though, is Doretti and Genius Iconoclast. This one's really interesting. It makes artifact tokens with the +1 ability. So this works with your Transmute artifact. It works with your Tezzeret Agent of Bolas. So that's some nice synergy. Then you can sack an artifact to destroy an artifact or creature with a -1 ability, and technically, since it's only -1 and Doretti comes in with 3 loyalty, you can just do this 3 times in a row, kill a Tarmogoyf, kill a Snapcaster Mage, kill a Delver of Secrets, and just call it a day with Doretti. And then, of course, if you actually get to the ultimate, it's pretty powerful as well. You get to copy an artifact from your graveyard 3 times, so the deck plays a lot of other artifacts as well, like Baleful Strix. This is a great transmute target. It defends all your Planeswalkers with flying and death touch, draws you a card when it enters the battlefield, just does everything an artifact deck wants. Also, we get some ramp, mostly in artifact form, with Mox Diamond and Dimir Signet. Lets you play your Tezzerets a turn early, your Jaces, all of that stuff. Ancient Tomb is also pretty powerful since it lets you play a Signet on turn 1, and then you make another land drop, play a Planeswalker, a 4-mana Planeswalker on turn 2. Really speeds up the deck quite a bit. As far as defense, Chalice of the Void locks a lot of stuff out of the game, and as you notice, no Brainstorms, no Ponders, no Swords to Plowshares. Thought Seizes. This deck is built to play a Chalice of the Void on 1, which is super powerful against a lot of decks in Legacy. Locks out all those spells I was just mentioning and more. Ensnaring Bridge to keep the opponent from killing you with creatures. Force of Will can discard your Planeswalkers, or exile rather, your Planeswalkers, your Baleful Strix, a lot of blue spells to counter something, and a Toxic Deluge as a Wrath. And then, maybe the spiciest card in the whole deck, the backup finisher, we have a single Brea Ethereum Sculptor from the new Commander 2016. So every color of mana except green, and you get a 4/4, and it works great with artifacts. It makes 2 artifact Thopter tokens when it enters the battlefield, so you can sack those to your Ready and transmute artifact. You can also sack them to your Brea and deal damage to an opponent, kill one of their creatures, gain you some life. So it just does everything, and it takes advantage of the fact you have Ready making artifact tokens. You have Baleful Strixes sitting around. You have all these Thopter tokens, so this is another way if your opponent has an Ensnaring Bridge out, you play your Brea, pay a bunch of mana, sacrifice a bunch of these Thopter tokens, and just deal 3 damage to your opponent's face a bunch of times. Wrath their entire board with a -4/-4 ability. Gain so much life they're not going to kill you. So it's a really awesome synergy with all the Thopter tokens that you make with the Thopter Sword combo. As far as the rest of the mana base, Academy Ruins gets an artifact from your graveyard. Inventor's Fair gains some life, can tutor an artifact from your library. Wasteland, Creeping Tar Pit, Polluted Delta and Scalding Tarn for fetches, a bunch of dual lands, a couple of basic lands. In the sideboard, we get some more removal type stuff. Another bridge for creatures, Engineered Explosives. Technically you have 4 colors of mana, so you could even kill an opposing Jace with it with the right draws. Pyroclasm to sweep the board. Detention Spheres. Grafdigger's Cage fights graveyards. Trinisphere, kind of another lock piece, makes things really expensive to cast. And in this deck you got a lot of 4 mana stuff. Brea, most of the Planeswalkers, even your Duretti's 3 mana, so it's going to hurt your opponent who's playing Ponders and Brainstorms and all this cheap stuff way more than it hurts you. A Pithing Needle to fight opposing Planeswalkers. Chains of Mistopheles, a couple of Blood Moons, and In the Eye of Chaos to shut down instant and sorceries, and a Slaughter Games to get rid of specific combo pieces from the opponent's deck. Anyway, that is Thopter Sword Friends for Legacy, and that's been our Instant Deck Tech for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.